This is a beautiful house. Did you have
In September 2007, the evening before a symposium to celebrate Fred Kavli's 80th birthday, Alda talked with him about the Kavli Foundation, the Kavli Institutes, the Kavli Prizes, and how it all began in the experiences of Fred Kavli's boyhood in his native Norway.
And you have such a great view of nature here.
I love it. Yeah, it's nice.
You know, I was there the day you were inducted into the American Academy of Arts and Sciences.
Oh, that was fun, wasn't it?
It was fun. And when you spoke about nature, it was very interesting. It was kind of moving to hear you talk about, I think as a boy, being in the mountains of Norway and seeing the starry sky and your awe at that. Did that get you into science, do you think?
Oh, I think so. The way it started, I guess, is as it does often. You look at the sky and you wonder what's out there. Of course, in Norway, you have the Nordic lights, and they are really spectacular, and especially if you walk across the mountain in wintertime, you know, you see the mountain tops sticking up and the Nordic lights flaming all over the sky.
Oh, that must be incredible. That must be really gorgeous. I've never seen that.
The most incredible sight.
And so, what, as a boy, what would you think when you saw that? Would you wonder how it got that way and want to know more about it, or what?
Absolutely, and how it came about, of course. And we still don't really know that, of course. It's up to future generations to find out, you know.
You studied to be a physicist and put yourself through school through a business that you founded with your brother, right?
Yes,
is that right?
That's right. Yes.
And how old were you both when you did this?
Well, I was 7 years younger than my brother, and we started this business when I was about 12 years old.
What was the business? What were you doing? You were running this business, co-running it at the age of 12. What was it?
You know, during the war, that the cars we didn't have any gas, so they were driven by wood that was burned at a very low temperature.
Wait a minute, the cars were wood-burning cars?
Yeah, they had cylinders about this big in diameter and about 6 feet tall on the back of the cars, mounted on the back of the cars.
I never heard this.
And you put the wood into that with briquettes about this big, and you put it into that, and they would burn very, very slowly. The gas would be used instead of gas.
So was there any science involved in that? Did you have to apply any science to it, or was it?
Well, it was mostly my brother. He designed a special machine that cut up the wood into small pieces.
I see.
You know. So
and what interested you at that age about science? What did you want to know about?
Well, of course, there are so many things. When you grow up in the country, I grew up on a farm, and you have so many things. You have just a piece of fruit, you know. Right now we have oranges up here. We didn't in Norway, but when you look at this thing come from a piece of dirt, just in a few weeks up to, and look at the complexity of it, that really makes you wonder. You know? How could we create a machine that could do that? That's pretty difficult.
Yeah, but the universe is a complex machine that can do it, huh? So, how did you get from your studies in Norway to the point where you had created this device or devices for airplanes and that kind of thing that was your business here?
Well, the business basically financed my education, or have financed it, and when I finished, I just came to Canada right after, 3 days after I finished my diploma, and I started in a very small company in Los Angeles. I worked first 1 year in Canada. I came to Los Angeles, and we were only 7 people, and I was just 1 year out of college, but I became the chief engineer because nobody else knew anything about it. Neither do I, but I had a good education. In the United States, you really didn't have to know that much. You just had to know how to ask the right questions. So I called all the national labs. We were we were designing devices that had to work in liquid nitrogen. Some of them had to work at very high temperatures, and nobody had done that before. So we learned as we went along.
And then you invented something that was then, was it a sensing device that's used in airplanes?
Yes, I made the flight control sensors for. Started with the 707, 737, and I ended up designing all the flight control sensors for.
And is your invention now used in most airplanes?
Most of those sensors are actually used still in most commercial and military aircraft.
And what do they sense? What is it that's happening when they're used?
These particular sensors, most of them sense the position of the flight control surfaces and provide the feedback signal to control the position of them for the servo lift.
I see.
So it's the rudder, elevator, aileron, and so forth.
So how young were you when you invented that?
Well, I was delayed actually for schooling because of the war, so I was about 28 years old or so.
That was delayed, right? That's pretty young.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I started very early though in my own business there, so that helped.
And how long ago did you start the foundation, the Kavli Foundation?
Well, I started my company in 1958 and I sold it in 2000, and that's when I started the foundation.
And what was your hope for the foundation? What's the mission of the foundation?
You know, since high school, my mission really was to do something of long-range benefit to the human being. And looking further into the future than most people do, and that was really the mission of the foundation when I started, and I wanted to do it in science, especially in physics, because I got my education in physics, and that was close to my heart, if you will.
What are some of the areas where physics can play a part?
When you look at most of the discoveries through the ages, they're based upon physics. The internet, the transistor, the internet, all our communications, everything like that is based upon physics. And it's hard to tell what science can do in the future, but if you look at the past, the possibilities are certainly more spectacular than we could ever imagine, I think.
I know I was having a conversation with one of the great physicists once, and I said, I've heard that something like 60% of everything in our lives today is controlled by quantum mechanics, by what we know of quantum mechanics. He said, no, I think it's more like 99%.
Yes, that's true. Well, of course, better understanding of everything that is basic in nature will help us solve the problems, solve technological problems, make progress in our devices.
The foundation concentrates on just 3 areas of science, doesn't it?
Yes, astroscience, nanoscience, and neuroscience, from the biggest to the smallest to the most complex.
Is there something about those 3 areas that you feel might give the biggest push to the well-being of mankind?
Yes, well, I think they are the most exciting fields for the 21st century, and the fields that you will see most progress from. And I think of course, astroscience or astrophysics, that is about the most basic questions, the fundamental questions of human being, and that is extremely interesting. And
you know, it is interesting, and yet I can imagine many people saying, we're here, what difference does it make where it all started or how it all started 12 billion years ago? That's in the past. Are people as interested as you'd like them to be about the origins of our universe?
You know, I think a lot of people are very interested in the origins of the universe, in understanding better what's out there, but maybe not as much in the detail as what we are discussing now. Mm. But I think there is a lot of movement in that direction. We have to work hard to get more people interested in science. I think, and that's a big task.
Yeah. So, how many institutes do you have around the world that are working in these areas?
Well, we have 15 institutes now. We have 3 in Europe, 1 in Cambridge, 1 in Delft in Holland, and 1 in Norway, and we have 2 in China, and the rest are in the U.S.
The people who are working in these different areas, do they ever cross over from one area to the other? Is there any cross-pollination?
Well, absolutely. We encourage work between the different fields and interchange between scientists. And of course, when you look at, for example, nanoscience, a lot of the exciting things about nanoscience is that you can create tools that we haven't had before, tools for research, tools for example, for brain science. You can create tools to better understand what's happening to the brain.
It sounds as though nanoscience, nanotechnology can give you tools to explore the brain that we don't have now.
Absolutely. You in order to explore the brain, you need to miniaturize. And when you talk about nanoscience, nanotechnology, you can make the very smallest things, of course. And you can function, make sensors and access parts of the brain and parts of cells and find out how they function. It has tremendous potential.
Almost like taking a little camera inside each cell of the body.
That's right. That's
right. The implications for health and the greater understanding of how we can live longer, healthier lives must be enormous in that regard. What about, is any thought given by your institutes to unintended consequences? I mean, there's this fearful idea of a great gray goo that could populate from nanotechnology and take over. How serious should we be about that?
Well, certainly we give great thoughts to that. We don't think it's a serious problem, but it's an important problem that has to be taken care of. There is some exposure, there are possibilities, but you know, we have all kinds of means where we could erase the human race right now. And we are able to control it. And this is no more difficult, I don't think.
It seems to me that that understanding the brain, what it is, how it works, how it got that way, would give us a chance to understand how we work together so that our ability to kill one another wouldn't be greater than our ability to work with one another, which is the way it is right now.
Well, that's a nice thing to hope for.
You think it's possible in the next few lifetimes for that to happen? How long could what you hope for take place? Would it take 100 years, 500 years?
Well, I think there are many things that will happen. Obviously, it depends upon the time scale. We sort of have an exponential curve now, a curve that gets steeper and steeper in terms of the path of development.
Is there something special about the way the institutes are organized that separates them from other kinds of research facilities?
Well, we most of what we do, we sponsor research when it's just an idea, when you can't get government funding, where you aren't able to write a big proposal and justify the government spending money on it. So we start with that, and sometimes these ideas can be very valuable, very fruitful. But it takes some money to find out whether they are any good or not.
Yeah. So now comes the Kavli Prize. This is really big stuff. It's very exciting. This will be an important prize in science, won't it?
Yes, I think so. And of course it matches with the other work we are doing. We sort of have a network of activities. We have the Kavli Institute, the symposia, we have the prizes, and we have journalism workshops, but the prizes are very important to call attention to what the scientists are doing, to call it, to make the public aware of the importance of science, and also to encourage scientists to do the very best work they can. Of course, they try hard.
I would imagine that most science is done because the science itself is exciting.
That's right.
But a prestigious prize probably does urge some people on, doesn't it?
Oh, I think so, and of course it gives people more funding in many cases to do what they want. We are hoping that our prizes can be given to people at a younger age, so they still have quite a bit of lifetime to do important
Yeah, now this
research.
is very interesting because the Nobel Prize, of course, kind of rewards people sometimes decades after they've done their greatest work, and your prize is going to now give them a boost early on, so that they'll be able to do even greater work. But how will you choose who gets the prize? Because won't they be in competition with people who have a long career where they might be ahead of them in some way?
Well, I think it's going to be somewhat of a mixture, but we are going to be able to give prizes to scientists at a younger age, and there is some risk in that, of course, because the work hasn't been as well tested.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's easier to make mistakes.
Yes.
But I think it's a risk we'll take.
And what kind of process will you have for vetting this? What process will nominate them and choose the winners and so on?
Well, that's very important, and the prize committees are appointed by the various institutes and academies. The U.S. Academy of Science and Letters, the Royal Society, the Norwegian Academy is coordinating it and overseeing it, and the Max Planck Institute and the French Academy and the Chinese Academy, all of those are appointing or suggesting members of the prize committees. So we are going to have trying to have the very best prize committees to select the most deserving scientists.
The first prize is given in 2008.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah, and around what part of the year will that happen?
Be in September, the second Tuesday in September, every second year.
And where will it happen? What will be the circumstances of giving away the prizes?
In Oslo. It's going to be a ceremony first. We're hoping the king will attend and a banquet in the city hall in Oslo. It's going to be nice.
It's going to be great. Is this funded so that it can go on and on and on?
Yes, all the institutes are funded by an endowment, so they will go on. And of course, the prizes are funded through the endowment that will be in, or is and will be in the Kavli Foundation. So it's supposed to go on forever.
That's great. That's great. Tell me a little bit about what's going to happen tomorrow. Is this the first time all of these scientists have gotten together in one room?
Yeah, this is the first time we are bringing all the directors of the Kavli Institutes together for a symposium. And of course, you are going to be the moderator for that.
Well, I'll be part of the conversation. I'm very happy about it. I love to talk to scientists, and it's going to be wonderful because these These are leaders in their fields. It's wonderful.
They are, and they're coming from all over the world, from Europe, from China, from the United States, of course. And it's going to be very exciting because you are going to be able to bring out the best in them and explain it to us so we
we'll
can
see. That hypothesis needs to be tested. We'll see. Now, is tomorrow your birthday?
No. That happens earlier.
Okay, well, happy birthday. Anyway.
Thank you.